everybody. This is Kelly Gladden, and I'm here with the handsome Brandon Martin. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Did I take you off guard there a little bit?
You are
He's
one of
never
the best
speak-
people on Facebook live streaming or any in the local media when it comes to catching somebody on your show off guard. You have a real gift for it. I think I was your first or second guest on Currentcast. And look at how it's grown.
It's grown, and we thank Brandon. I mean, I have so many followers, and they're so nice. I mean, everyone has been, it's quite interesting. I don't have too many haters. Almost everyone is nice.
Yeah. Well,
I haven't needed your legal services yet.
That's good. That's good. But if you do, you know where to call.
Yeah. How could we reach you?
You can reach me. Actually, you know what? You can call me on my cell phone.
Okay.
661-717-4117. And that's how much I trust the Currentcast audience.
And what do you specialize in?
These days, it's CEQA and land use, but I also do civil litigation. So what I'm really looking for is when somebody's been seriously injured and they need help. I'm not really, at this point in my career, looking to represent people who are faking or they haven't been injured or they don't have a real problem, they're just litigious. That's not what I'm interested in. But if somebody does need help, please call. If I can't help you, I'll do the legwork and find somebody who will.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And he just gave us his personal cell phone.
I'm going to have to change that in 3 days.
No, you're changing it now. It's ringing. I hear the vibrations. So how's Heather and Haley?
Heather and Haley are both very well. We spent the weekend on the coast. Haley's favorite place is the beach. And maybe your second favorite place is Legoland, so we did Legoland.
That was a campaign promise, and you kept to it.
It was.
Yes,
yeah.
I pay attention.
These politicians, the successful politicians, don't keep their campaign promises, but I did. So let's give me credit for that. And you know, there's no easier one to keep than when your little daughter is as happy as she is at Legoland.
And she's really going to be a marine biologist attorney.
a singing attorney / marine biologist.
Yeah, she could sing. That would be good. She could sing in court.
Yeah.
She could get people off guard.
During my during my campaign, one of the themes we had for our fundraisers, we had really great music. So we'd have
excellent.
You know, Johnny Owens and Buck Fever Band, or we'd have the Folkos, who were amazing, and pretty consistently my daughter would jump up on stage unplanned. Most people thought it was unplanned
and try to grab the mic,
entertaining.
I remember her at Bakersfield Music Hall fame. She grabbed the mic and Heather's diving for her. It was adorable. No, it was completely natural.
Yeah, there you go.
I know Taylor just loves her.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
We'll have to get to
yeah.
Yeah, Taylor is doing CSI week at the downtown museum. They have a little camp. So it's quite interesting. After having you, I've had Cynthia Zimmer and a couple people in law enforcement, and they were talking, I can't remember, but something about a dead body or something. Somebody had mentioned it. And that was the only time that Taylor walked into the room while her mom was watching the video cast. Yeah. And the neighbor asked, "Oh, what does Gigi do?" "Oh, she talks about dead bodies on TV."
Yeah.
So now CSI is good.
Well, dead bodies aside,
yeah.
Have you noticed that camps have gotten a lot more interesting? I mean,
yes.
when we were younger.
Yeah, macrame, color some noodles.
I don't remember there being a CSI camp. Nothing close. There was no, you know, I mean.
There wasn't a $450 bill either. No. Just saying.
Yeah, I didn't notice that much. But yeah,
I think it's 100. I don't. It's like $150 a month. I mean, a week.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe $75. They have 2 kids, so maybe it's $75, which isn't bad. It's still better than daycare.
There's a Facebook group that is just parents sharing the interesting things that are available for kids.
Oh, nice.
And I can't, I want to say Granny's group or something like that. I'm probably getting it totally wrong. Maybe producer can try to find it during the break or something.
There's a Mommies and Me or something, or Mommies something
that may be it too.
That does. They just sent me a thing to like, and you had to fill out, do you have children? And I put, I have grandbabies. And
yeah, and I'll go on it for, is there something that would interest Haley? Is that something she'd like to do? And then half the time I'm like, oh gosh, I'd love to do that.
There's an acting group that's at, I can't remember the name of the theater, Open Space. It's Empty Space. Sorry.
Okay.
I just make it up. We just smile. Just go with it. Yeah. Producer will correct me. But it is 90 hours, and they do a play at the end of a musical, and it's Guinevere does that. So
excellent.
That's a really good program, and it's very structured. Yeah. Lots of kids, fun.
Great.
I like exciting things, but Taylor, they love to go to the aquariums and to the beach, and we'll definitely have to do that. We'll do it. We'll have Taylor research it. Because she loves to read.
Yeah.
So she'll the OCD, and she'll map us out a agenda.
Good.
So not only are you an attorney,
right,
and a father, you also work for council member.
Actually, it's Supervisor David Couch, and I'm his chief of staff.
I can't pretend I know you that well.
Okay. Yeah, I could tell that was intentional. Hey, David Couch is running for re-election. A lot of people don't understand that, because if it weren't for a court order that came down from a federal court in Fresno redrawing the boundaries, he wouldn't have to run again until 2020. He was overwhelmingly re-elected last cycle.
Right.
So
what are your thoughts on that lawsuit?
My thoughts on the lawsuit. Let's put aside the merits of the lawsuit. There was no, as I understand it, there was no intentional act by the Board of Supervisors back in 2011 or whenever they drew the lines last time to create a situation in which a group of people locally were disadvantaged based on the color of their skin. If that was the case, that's
I really don't understand how they are, though. I mean, I don't understand the merit of the case.
Right. Well, one of the idea is that the boundaries were drawn so that you would have only one Hispanic supervisor and 4 white ones. But that, I don't think there's anything in the record to show that was intentional.
I mean, can you only be white if you run for certain areas?
No, and I think we can both think of people. I mean, shouldn't
get
in trouble with any of the
common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, where's the common sense?
Yeah.
If 3 white guys win and 1 Hispanic, I mean.
I hear you.
Yeah. How come nobody complains about the NFL? How come the majority are black?
Because they're just better football players.
Well, maybe they're better supervisors.
But not in every. Yeah, well. Yeah,
I mean, they're kind of.
I get that, but okay, I think where I'm going is that what's really unfortunate about it, from my perspective, is that the new map that was drawn in order to address this problem under the Voting Rights Act was drawn by the Board of Supervisors in closed session without a lot of public input, without the public input process that you typically have. David Couch's constituents from the past wanted to keep him.
Right.
I have heard overwhelmingly from people in Taft and Fraser Park, we love the constituent service that David provided. Why didn't somebody ask us? And they didn't get a chance to be able to weigh in. And instead what we had was a group of litigants.
An angry mob.
Yeah, a group of litigants, but largely controlled by a law firm from outside of Kern County. And a Board of Supervisors trying to settle with that group without the type of public input you'd normally have in drawing boundaries.
Right.
And then approval from a court in Fresno County that's a federal court. And what you don't have is people in Kern County drawing their own lines. And this is important. This is how we elect our supervisors.
Right.
The most important thing is for the voters of Kern County to have a say in this process, because ultimately it is their votes that are being counted, and the boundaries affect that. So
why
it's
wouldn't
very
it go
frustrating.
to a local court in Kern County first, then to Fresno? Why did it go straight to the appellate court? Is that what you said?
Well, it went to the federal court because
Federal
that's
court.
where it was filed by the plaintiffs, because it's a Voting Rights Act. It's a federal
Okay.
statute, I think. It's their choice of venue.
And we're allegedly going to have a federal court here sometime?
Sometime, I think we have a federal court where there's just a federal magistrate. That's like a judge. It's not a real. It's an employee of other judges that handles a subset of matters.
Okay.
Not too far from our studios here.
Yeah.
Should there be a full federal courthouse here with a judge? Absolutely.
Right.
Matter of time, I think.
We need it. We're different than other counties.
Yeah, well,
Every county's different.
Yeah, and driving to Fresno isn't fun for attorneys. I'll tell you that much.
No, there's no beach on the way. So David's supervisor, David Couch's opponent that's running against him is from Delano.
Yes, so the new district includes Shafter and Delano, as well as McFarland. Those were previously part of the 1st district. Now they've been carved into the 4th district. David has done very well in the past working with communities in Wasco and Buttonwillow and Bakersfield, of course. Taft.
Yeah, you never hear anything negative about him.
Right, and we're not hearing anything. I mean,
there's not a puppet with his head made. Have you seen the puppets?
The puppets. Well, now I got to watch out for puppets. It's like a little Chucky doll that's a supervisor.
Yeah. Mike Maggart has his own puppet.
Oh, does he?
Yes. There's a group that they go to the council meetings and different things and talk, and it's quite funny. Couch is good. He has
I think I know you on Facebook. I've seen this.
Yes.
The
Jazz McKay has one, and it's not so good.
The Jazz.
It's a little creepy.
I think I saw the Jazz puppet interviewing the Mike Maggard puppet.
Yes.
It's okay. So yeah,
there was a lot of sexual harassment and
it's probably a good
talk.
thing that there isn't a David Couch puppet.
Yeah.
But no, we're working overtime to avoid puppetry and to make new friends in Delano and Shafter, and I think we're doing a really good job.
When I first saw the puppets, I went to my first vision of, special, what is it? Not LA Law, or what's the crime show that the special,
CSI
the special unit sex investigation where they do the puppets with the kids.
Right. I'm
all like, do we have a psychiatrist coming in the studio? Why are there puppets? Yeah, I need to go to the CSI place and learn a little more. We got off track. I mean, we made a funny joke, and I think you were trying to be serious.
I occasionally try to be serious, not always successful with it, but I do try.
Yeah, he's really a lot of fun. It doesn't always show well on camera because you're so serious because you have to be with your job, but you're quite entertaining.
Yeah, when I was running for judge, I was in Ridgecrest at the Griffin's home where they did a meet and greet for me. And there was a band playing, and they're called the Folcos. If you ever do a birthday party or you have a big event, you want to have the Folcos. They're the most fun for all ages, and they're a great cover band. But they pulled me up on stage, and the father, Joey Folco, he was emceeing it as well, and I was listening.
Not prepared.
I wasn't prepared to be on stage. Are they going to hand me the microphone and ask me to sing, because that's going to be really tragic. They declared me the rock and roll judge, which I thought was great. I'm not a judge, but I will be rock and roll, and I will be funny when I need to be.
I thought they were going to have you dance or something.
Oh, no.
Have they seen your moves? He's got some moves.
They probably have seen my moves, and that's why they didn't ask me to dance.
Well, we catch our breath from laughing. We're going to go to break.
Okay.
At the time you were arrested, you were served with a DS-367 temporary driver's license. It's good for 30 days, but if you don't act within 10 days, at the end of those 30 days, your license will be suspended. It's important for your lawyer to contact the DMV for you Set up a driver's license administrative hearing so that your license is not going to suspension. That's something here at Bramer Law we do for you.
Your home is perfect. Until it's not. We understand that life has its changes. As your family grows, we're here to help grow with you. Because taking care of your family is important to you and important to us. Your story starts here with Cornerstone Mortgage.
Patriot Bail Bonds has the best customer service in Bakersfield. Patriot has more 5-star ratings than any bail company in Kern County. Plus, we're fast and affordable. If you run into the law, make Patriot Bail Bonds your first call. That's right, one call, that's all.
If you're in jail, call Patriot Bail.
So we live in such a crazy political climate right now. There was a gentleman from Fox News that went out. I've never seen the gentleman before, but he went out and interviewed people and asked them what they thought about the nominee. This was on Saturday. So there was no nominee at this point. And all these people, it was from it was on Friday. It was from New York, College of New York somewhere. And they were asked, these are intelligent people, and they're like, oh, it's horrible, we're all going to burn in hell and this and that. And these are college educated people.
Right.
And they already had an opinion, and nobody knew who, Kavanaugh wasn't picked yet.
It was particularly funny to me because if there is anything about President Trump, you like it or you don't like it or whatever, it's the unpredictability factor, much more so than any other conventional politician that pops into mind. What Trump's going to, I mean, if I told you Donald Trump had a news conference on Monday and announced that he was going to nominate his sister, who's a successful appellate court judge.
Which she would have done well.
Yeah. The Democrats would have voted for her, but it was one of those interesting things that probably would, I mean, it would have shocked you a little bit, but it's almost like nothing's out of the question.
What would
And it's kind of sad that you go and do an interview like that, you man on the street, and everybody, in such a partisan time, everybody, even with that, anything can happen, we can't prejudge. Everybody's so eager to prejudge.
There's no common sense.
Yeah, oh, I'm a Democrat, I've got to oppose his nominee.
So if he would have nominated this is what would be so phenomenal. He would nominate his sister. She's a Democrat, okay? Yet hardcore Democrat. All the Democrats wouldn't approve of her.
That's probably
true.
Would vote, they'd be against.
He can't win for losing.
She's got to be the wrong choice because she's nominated by the president. What happened today?
Well, he's at the conference, and they talked. He was talking to the Chancellor of Germany about Russia. So they just signed a $7 billion natural gas program with Russia. Germany did. Right. But that's okay. But it's not okay to have them come to NATO, or it's not okay to have them come to the PAC 7 or 8 or 9, depending on who gets in and out. I don't know if we're leaving. I mean, the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
The hypocrisy.
The funny thing is everybody has an opinion. It begins with whether we like the president or we don't. Right. And from there, the path is very clear. I bet you before Donald Trump was elected and we began a broader national conversation about our international alliances, you'd have a lot of people, maybe a majority of them, who really didn't have passionate opinions about NATO membership, about
they still don't
whether
even
the
know what
president
it
should
means.
participate in international conferences and so forth.
Right.
In fact, many of the people who I see attacking the president for being protectionist were from a party that was traditionally protectionist.
I know.
For generations. Hypocrisy, yes, but it
no
comes
common
from that,
sense and hypocrisy.
and I think it comes from that just ironclad devotion to partisanship, which is characterizing our politics.
How's that
today.
working for him?
Well, it's not working for the opposition.
Right.
Yeah, the president's doing pretty. I'm not a pollster, but that's my understanding. Is he's doing pretty well. And
highest ratings.
Republicans are probably going to retain both houses.
So
not that I know, but that's
I'm predicting.
Knock on
we're going to predict. We're somewhere here.
Wood,
There's wood behind us somewhere. So, an interesting thing about the tariffs. Before he was president, if you were just to ask, okay, Branson, I'm going to buy a car from you, and I'm going to charge you a tax for $1,000. I'm the United States. You're going to be Russia. So if I get a car from you, I'm going to give you $9,000 in tax. How much sense does that make?
Well,
I mean, the logic, the tariffs.
Accent.
I know.
Yeah. I think one of the things.
Work it.
Right.
I mean, it's common sense. And like the soybeans. Okay, so China said that they weren't going to buy soybeans with us. They're the #1 consumer of soybeans. Guess what, folks? Nobody else has soybeans to feed them. There's like a little tiny bit. They may each get a soybean.
Yeah.
I mean, we have it. And then they think that they're growing it. And there's this new miracle fertilizer. Guess who produces the fertilizer? We do.
I think when we were in high school or college economics, it's okay. And we learned about the law of competitive advantage and many of the things that were good arguments for free trade.
Correct.
And remain good arguments for free trade today. They were based on kind of a abstraction of the world. And what has happened during the Trump administration has been this reflection, which is leading people to say, okay, well, maybe in principle this is still a good thing, and we should still strive to that.
Right.
But let's not pretend that there isn't this constant give and take negotiation going on.
Right.
Because when we talk about how principled we are, that may be a euphemism for saying we're not successful in trade negotiations, and we need to be more aggressive. Now we'll see whether the president's
really not done well in the past.
Yeah,
Can I hear an amen?
We'll see whether the president's strategy of being more aggressive leads in a better deal for the United States,
right,
or a kind of trade war, which could be bad for everybody. But we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. But it's great to be having this discussion.
Well, the Roaring
for a while,
20s, there was a trade war, and they say that's what caused
the
depression to go get better.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on which side you listen.
Yeah.
I listened to Forbes.
Okay.
Forbes just said that some people say it was banking that helped get out when they did some of the things that they did. But some people say that it was the trade wars, and we stabilized. Sometimes you have to hit a low in order to grow.
Right. Yeah.
Thoughts?
So we'll see. There is a risk in a trade war that would be bad for the United States and for other countries we trade with, which is a lose-lose for everybody.
Right.
But there's also, if you look at free trade agreements, they're not the free trade agreements we studied, which were,
not at all.
You could have it on a single sheet of paper. It would just be.
It's like a book this thick, just on bobby pins.
There's 20,000 pages of regulation. You don't know what's in them.
Have you actually looked to see what we trade, what we import from China?
No, I haven't.
Okay, we can make the majority of this stuff ourselves, so we're getting it cheaper from them, but it's substandard, and we're having to replace it.
Right.
I mean, again, logic.
And there are
trade secrets. They can't even make the stuff themselves. They're stealing our patents and our ideas.
There is, how do you protect IP, which is a big global trade question.
Right.
There's also, kind of a vision of what kind of country do you want to live in? If the free trade theory played out entirely, there may be the United States as a country that's a kind of class of managers where our manufacturing base is completely outsourced to other countries that have, you know, frankly, I shouldn't say slave labor because that's too heated a term, but labor.
They're usually the S word whole countries.
Yeah, right. And
which, as going on missions, they are. I mean, it's horrible. That's why they're coming to our country.
Or frankly, communist countries where that's their labor is part of an economic plan, a 4-year plan or whatever, and they work for artificially low prices at the point of a gun.
Right.
And so, and we don't do that to our people. So there is
but we're supporting it by buying it.
You are supporting it by buying it.
So Trump said no.
Yep,
he's putting in. So all the liberals that think it's okay to put a gun to somebody in a factory that's making us clothes so we can buy at Walmart, it's not okay. We need to pay a fair value.
Yeah.
I mean, it really isn't. We need to pay a fair value. Everything has a fair value. Televisions, etc. I mean,
I'm going to just confess here, I do have one of those TCL, the new Chinese televisions. It was very, very inexpensive and beautiful.
So nice.
Yeah. but you make a really good point. There's an ethical overlay to this. What are the costs? What's the true cost in terms of human rights for my cheap Chinese television? Right. And how do we protect a way of life for a lot of Americans? It's also a national security issue.
Extremely. With the metals.
Yeah, when in World War I, World War II, when we needed to go to war, we could take factories and repurpose them for military uses.
Correct.
If those manufacturing industries no longer have a manufacturing source in the United States,
we're done.
Yeah, we can't fight with the countries we trade with to get them to provide us weapons for us to attack them with. You know, it's
common sense.
It's a problem.
I mean,
but
really
there's also, you know, I like to see people making things in America because it's a big part of what I think of as our economic history. We're not paper pushers as a country. That's not when I think of great American industry. I think of that as the emphasis on the American. Yeah, and maybe it's from the Central Valley where you know we talk about agriculture and oil and so forth. You
grow it, you have pride.
We produce things. Yeah, that's a big deal. So if Trump understands that's part of his motivation. That's economically aggressive. We understand there's the trade war problem, but it's great to have this conversation.
It is. It makes you think. And for all the liberals that write on my Facebook, I'm not saying Democrats because I'm talking far left liberals that write on my Facebook page telling me how horrible it is that the Trumps have stuff manufactured in China because of slave labor. But now, again, hypocrisy, and we have a little bit of lack of common sense. Yeah. They're complaining that it's okay because of the trade wars, because Trump wants to put an end to it. So now it's okay that they have child labor. Mm-hmm. I don't understand.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, how can we as a country, I mean, we were built on ingenuity. You know, we're a doer, maker, thinker. Not anymore. I mean, I wonder how people make it to the mailbox.
Yeah, I mean, my email box has constant. Like, I'm constantly getting advertisements from people teaching me. They want to teach me how to do Facebook advertising, how to resell this, affiliate that.
How to eat sunflower seeds. We have to have instructions.
Right.
How hard is it?
But what I would really like to know how to make the gadget I'm dreaming of. And it's incredibly hard to find. There's some maker labs that have begun to pop up,
right?
But there's not. I mean, it's a rare thing where in major metropolitan areas of population centers, largely of yuppies, who can take advantage of this. But there's whole populations of people like where we live,
right,
who are great tinkerers,
yeah,
who should be able to know about.
I could probably set you up with some of those.
And so forth. Yeah.
I know a lot of manufacturing engineers.
Yeah, but you know what? It's not. I mean, for
to do a CAD drawing, make it out of stereolithography, plastic, get a prototype,
right?
See if it works.
But then it's like we wait for we do the schematics in the CAD program,
right?
And then somebody in China builds the prototype and sends it to us. And I want to know how to actually make
you can
the
build
thing out
it
of
here.
Plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know it's not impossible, but I'm just saying that fewer and fewer people know how to do this, and it's very hard.
We can build a gun in our garage. You go buy the 3D
printer.
Yeah, I mean, what do you need? I can make it.
Okay.
Not really, but I know somebody that can. So, what do you think that we could do to make a difference in order to educate ourselves and to become less partisan and come together? How can we come together?
I think the conversation is really important. The way we facilitate conversations today is largely through social media.
Right.
Not everybody, but as a result, many of the things that we do and part of our civility is lost because the social norms aren't the same. I mean, you can be outrageously unkind to people on social media and you get likes and hearts and it's very difficult for people to show each other the decency necessary to relate to one another,
right?
In that platform. It's just,
I mean,
you got to be face to face.
If you're not going to say it face to face, then why would you post it?
Right, I understand, but
Common sense.
That's what people do. That's why
I really don't understand.
So many billion page views of it that people like that. But in the end, in order to solve the problem and not just be entertaining, people need to sit down and have those difficult conversations. When we do litigation, we go through this process of doing formal discovery where the lawyers bark at one another and we do requests for admissions and interrogatories and we have these formal depositions and so forth. And the lawsuits almost never get settled until you have something like a settlement conference or a mediation. Later on down the line,
you don't want to go to court.
I'd love to see that happen before we go through all this formal nonsense. And the reason why that works so well is that you have the clients, the real people with the disputes and the power, actually sitting down, not through their lawyers who are more like people on Facebook bickering, but actual people whose interests, and they finally are forced to talk.
Right.
And then you start to see them come together, sometimes the rational
sort of
solution.
like marriage counseling. You know, it's not necessarily the problem that you're angry about.
Right.
It's you want to be validated or you want something.
Yeah, I hear you, and Facebook isn't a good place to do marriage counseling either.
And you know what else is shocking is if just because you think it, you don't have to say it.
That's true.
Yeah.
You could have a bit of a filter.
Yeah. Can we manufacture those? We'd be billionaires.
Yeah, I hear you.
So that was a wonderful answer, and you're so kind, and you do so many great things. And I want to have you come on and do you remember Schoolhouse Rocks?
You know what? It's funny. I don't remember Schoolhouse Rocks. I think I was
it's
a little
bill
too.
On Capitol Hill.
I was too old, but because I've been on the campaign trail and I've been working, as a political lawyer, I work with politicians and things. I've heard Kevin and Vince tell the story about the Schoolhouse Rock song and even kind of sing along about it, dozens of times.
Right.
So I have this fondness about this song that I don't even really remember.
I'm going to have to find it and send it to you tonight.
Okay, send it to me. So I'll actually hear the song. But as I understand, it's a great way to understand how the process of a bill becomes a law.
Well, we need to do that because we have a Supreme Court, nominee that's in right now, and people don't understand the court system.
Right.
Even asylum, they don't understand all the people that came across from Central and South America to the United States. They don't understand the process of asylum. I mean, just because I don't like my husband doesn't mean that I get asylum. Seriously, one lady, that was in an interview. She said her husband was mean and blah blah blah, and she wanted asylum. Right. And you hear all these people again, give them all asylum. Well, can we make like a program to teach? Maybe you can come on, we can pick a subject and you can give us a little education from the law perspective.
Yeah, we could talk about that. That'd be great. And if you have time, we could talk about the process of nominating judges and the different state and federal court and so forth, if you want to go through.
Do we have time for him to give a quick spiel about the court system?
Yeah, we got just a little bit of time.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I see the
Inga will be in here shortly.
Podcast person, but
yeah. So real quick.
Uh-huh.
So people don't understand what the job of the Supreme Court, from what I understand, is that when it gets kicked up to them, it's been kicked up through the circuits of the states or wherever, the circuit court.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes there is original jurisdiction. It's not exercised a lot. Maybe in cases where there's one state suing another state.
Okay.
So there is original jurisdiction for matters in the Supreme Court. Most everything is appellate. So it would come from, initiated usually at the district court level. That's like the trial court level.
Right.
Our nearest district court is in Fresno, or at least that's the one that is for...
We need to build one in Bakersfield.
We do. A beautiful one. Courthouses are great. And then it would go to an appellate court, like the Ninth Circuit in San Francisco.
Right. Horrible. That court gets more cases kicked out than any other appellate court in the United States.
Yeah, they do get reversed. And then...
kicked out, say I made my own.
Yeah,
that's why I need you.
That works. And then the next step in the appellate process would go to the United States Supreme Court.
But they're not there to make laws. They're there to follow what the Constitution of the United States.
Right.
Correct?
Well, the Constitution of the United States, they also can answer questions involving, federal statutes as a kind of court of last resort or appellate court for that as well.
But they don't make laws.
They should. The idea is for them to interpret the law, not make the law. But one reason why we have such political contentiousness, one reason
because they're making laws,
is because when there's a gap, even if you believe strongly in stare decisis and precedent and so forth, when there's a gap, there's no precedent for you to rely on as a judge, as a Supreme Court judge in particular. There's just there's no higher authority, and you need to interpret that, and that will be a new precedent, which is a new law that people will rely on. It's not, they shouldn't, I think that all people who are going to be nominated by Trump at least are going to say, we want to be not the kind of judges that make law in the sense that Congress makes law.
Right.
But in another sense, they're going to have some kind of impact on what we think of as, particularly the meaning of the United States Constitution, which is a question before the Supreme Court every session.
Ginsburg doesn't think we should necessarily follow it. Did you hear that in her little interview?
No.
I'll send that to you too.
It's pretty important that we follow the Constitution.
So do you think there should be term limits for the Supreme Court or age limits?
No. And
should you be able to sleep during session?
You know what? On our side of the aisle, we had Justice Thomas, Clarence Thomas, for many years, never asked a single question in oral argument. He might as well have been sleeping. But really, he was listening. Yeah. And listening is even more important. But in the end, he wrote some great
Just because he thought it doesn't mean that he had to say it.
And was a very, very valued member of the court. I mean, my problem with term limits is that we don't want to politicize the court. So when they're on there, we want their judgment to be independent of the kind of thinking that we get from most politicians, which is, how do I make sure I do something that pleases people given the political winds right now in the next election cycle? How do I keep my job? Now? The Supreme Court?
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I don't think so. There's an awful lot of unpopular decisions that come down with a group of people. I mean, I've had people screaming about them.
Split. I don't understand. For the most part, they should all be united, because if you're following the Constitution, their law is generally pretty black and white. Some of it is fluid.
So you definitely have a group of people who have different perspectives on the court about what the law is, and different, almost maybe even different value sets. That'd be a little more controversial to talk about it that way. And that influences how they approach interpretation of the law.
Right.
And you can see that in their opinions. What I'm a little more afraid of is, okay, I have this value set. Right. This is what I believe. But you know what? I'm going to compromise a little bit so I get reelected.
Yeah,
we want that kind of independence. And the price we pay for that is a lifetime appointment.
Right.
But I just do want to make clear, Article 3 of the United States Constitution does allow us to impeach Supreme Court judges. So if they do something that is outrageous, there is a path.
Sleeping?
Yeah, I don't think that we've had. We have had federal judges, not at the Supreme Court level, but at the lower court levels, or the appellate or district court levels, who have been, there's been issues because of their age and other things.
Was it the one where Stanford, didn't it go to San Francisco and they voted that, or I mean, it's the soccer player, somebody that raped somebody by the trash can, swim team member, and they that judge lost his seat.
Yeah, so he wasn't part of the federal system. Okay. He wasn't an Article III judge, so he didn't have lifetime tenure, as I put it. He didn't have an appointment for life. But he was a state judge,
right? Like
one of our Kern County Superior Court judges. And so the voters had an opportunity to recall that person. He wasn't even up for election. They circulated signatures and recalled him, and successfully did so. So he will no longer be a judge in the future. And it was a very controversial. I mean, it was, as I understand it, the sentence was what the probation department had
really
recommended.
Nothing to do with it.
Yeah, he had nothing to do with it in the sense that he
followed what they said.
He followed their recommendation, but at the same time, a lot of voters have a different view of what you should be doing as a judge, and their view was, I don't want you to rubber stamp the probation report, the sentencing report from the probation department. I want you to be more proactive. We were outraged by the facts. Why weren't you? You're not reflecting our community's values.
Right.
And so that was really controversial. I can tell you almost all the judges would disagree with the decision to recall that judge.
I agree. I mean, I don't think you should. Well, I have so many more questions.
I was pretty outraged by the decision, by his the 6 months as well. But anyway.
When are you free again?
Give me a call, and I'll see. Well, I'll check my calendar.
Because I have a lot more questions. I mean, there's a system, a computer system that helps with determining criminals' probability of doing a crime again, and
I've seen the movie with Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg, Minority Report.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
No, I just.
I've seen that.
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Yeah. Basically, the whole.
That's a movie to watch, Gus.
Yeah.
He does movie reviews.
Okay. Oh, great. How do I see you? Okay. I know I'm not supposed to be doing this because we're on a show and the producer and so forth. I'm going to break the wall.
We like to talk to our producer.
How do we see your movie reviews?
They come on every week, Friday at 3 o'clock.
Excellent.
And what's the next movie you're reviewing, Gus?
I have to look it up. I don't know yet. I do know
he
that
likes chick flicks.
I do know that one of the movies I have on my list right now is the Mr. Rogers documentary that just came out. So I'm hoping to get tickets to that either tonight or tomorrow.
Excellent.
Check that one out.
Speaking of that, how come when is her name Susan, the Florida, I can't even think of her name, brain fade because we're done, but see, she's high up in the court system. She went Attorney General of Florida, blonde Susan, I think. Anyway, she went to see Mr. Rogers with her boyfriend, and people spit on her, yelled at her.
Oh, that's terrible.
I need to send you a lot of stuff.
You got to send me a link, but that's terrible.
Yeah, well, her Secret Service or Capitol Police stood back, and she told her boyfriend not to engage. But let's talk about next time. What is the definition of hate speech or inciting violence, and how come Maxine Waters hasn't been arrested?
Yeah, we can talk about hate speech. That's very controversial under the hate crimes and so forth, and hate speech and speech codes under the First Amendment. That's a great topic. In fact, even if you can't have me on, if you have somebody else on, I'd love to watch that too, as well, because that'd be a great show. He watches
our show. Well, we better go because Gus is going to spank me. He has a little rubber mallet.
Okay.
Well, thanks so much. It's always a pleasure.